year? Keith and David Bakken War. This year's theme is 2001, a space oddity. And sometimes it can be held true for space oddities with the Hot Air Affair.
Hey, Rand.
You never know what's going to happen. We have some aliens walking. Our corporate sponsor for this weekend is one and only Burnix Pepsi. A dresser. Jeff and his crew provide that beverage of all good festivals, Pepsi-Cola. Following the parade this afternoon or this evening, fireworks at Lakefront Park. Some of our first aliens coming through are hot air balloons, promoting rides. Tomorrow there'll be a hare and a hound race. Weather's ready. Okay, this weekend we have the This Hudson 2001 candidates. They'll be helping out on the Intergalactica competition, NEP Rock, turkey bowling, and all sorts of fun. Students come from all over the United States, Albuquerque, from Illinois, you name it, we have them. We are limited to a point of like 50 balloons at NEP Rock School, so we try to keep 50 balloons or more or less. Giving out free loans tonight. Interest-free loans. Of course, tomorrow at Plaza 94, we have Winterfest. For personal items, to donate to the local food shelf. Hudson Medical Center, beaming up and over, fall 2002, Hudson Health Campus. Those aliens up above, let's think they're really down here, but it feels warm warming up these burners. It does cost more to bring these pilots in. So please, be generous, support the Hot Air Affair, support the merchants that bring in the balloonists. Hartfield's back, he's warming us up. Neil Anderson is the pilot. The more heat you bring to the judges, the more points you get. And tomorrow, during the launches, we have will be provided. Small things to $5. Hey, we have our first kazoo band. Let's see what they sound like. Hudson Rotary is the first, or one of the kazoo competition of 4 people strapped to a 2x4. And it's a competition. See who can stand up and not fall through obstacle course. Jacoba's Liquor Mart brings us this next balloon. Lights of Fancy from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Following the switchboard competition tomorrow, there's a balloon launch scheduled at 3 o'clock. And tomorrow night, the ever-famous Hot Air Balloon Moon Glow or Field of Fire. 7 o'clock. Up in the air, heat it, and glow them. Beautiful time for candles. Remax is the next balloon. Once again, Jim Henry sponsoring Meet the Pilot at Plaza 94 tomorrow. We have some really alien.
We're the purple people eaters.
The purple people eaters from Milwaukee. How many years have you guys been coming up here now? About 10 years. Thanks a lot. Hey. Riverside and their alien group held in June. Eighth and 9th. The Relay for Life. Get a team, make a support the community, support the people that have cancer. This has helped numerous people in the past. We have people locally that have benefited and have been cured by this. The 2001 senior sponsors are First National Bank, Hudson Position, XL Energy, and AutoStop. Well, he's not an alien, but Rob Wertheimer's running for circuit judge. Sometimes you might think they're aliens. Matt Fenster bringing us third priority. Electronics, Wells Fargo, Spring Green Tree and Lawn Care. The flight that means freedom. Freedom Flight out of St. Paul. The Black Moon of POW MIA. Moose Sesnick is the pilot. Van Lines, Hot Air Balloon, Team Ballard Moving and Storage. Ray Kent is the pilot. There's a raffle for a beautiful quilt.
Candy's in the back.
Sponsored by Vinny Decker. Hudson Lions has their pancake feed. Looks like they're already starting to cook their pancakes. There'll be some fresh ones on Sunday at Garfield.
Right.
Those will be the intergalactical shows. And we have a wayward lion here. It must be the Lions Club lion. Arms getting short. King Johnson pilot, the piano balloon. With their space jet propulsion for their little guy. Swing the thing golf shot. Don't get up on the hill.
I don't know where I put it.
Oh, okay.
Part of the protective services of the city of Hudson. I'd like to thank the police officers that are standing out here equally cold and they could be sitting in their nice warm squad cars, protecting other parts of the town.
I don't want to get in front of them.
Spring Green. George Eibach is the pilot.
Wear it up, George.
Kenny Creek Lodge, adult baking. Classic Sam.
2001, The Space Odyssey. Something that took place 3 years ago. The other lift of the Space Odyssey was a line of alien line of and it was removed flying over the monolith, something that people have to mankind. Clearly now, the sun, the stone, and the moon. Let's see if we can line up and what happens when it's burnt in Hudson, Wisconsin.
Thank you. When everything's aligned, the Hudson Hot Air Affair has their festival. These guys in their hibernation chambers. Just a safety warning, do not put plastic bags over yourself. They do have oxygen going into them. Wind right in. Ivan, it's go. Ivan. Hey, baby! That's just Ducky. Come on! Ryan is the pilot.
I have candy! I have candy!
Anything!
I have candy!
Points! Bravo!
Once again, we do appreciate everybody. And we have one warped.
Ain't life, Ducky?
Let's see what this guy's up to. Make sure that you guys do what you're supposed to do. It's going to be in the push for you. And we have somewhat of a late comer, but we sort of thought it was going to be coming. The Pepsi can will be flying tomorrow. Pepsi will be helping us at the launch field tomorrow. They're helping us tonight. So if you can see the guys in the Army suits, respect them, listen to them. They are in charge. Featherstone excavating brings us Allen. Is that 100?
There's a couple.
That's a song that's on everybody's mind when you hear a football game. We'll let the oddities out, or odds out. Let's listen to the sounds of Viking Electronics. As they have been ever so faithful for the past 12 years and then some. And we have an ever-ready Energizer Bunny. Come on, Joe, dance.
Who let the dogs out?
Torchlight Spring for the Hot Air Affair. See you at the launch field tomorrow morning.
All right, people.
Forecast is calling for the ceiling to be 1,200 feet. A couple hours from now, we just got an update, talked to a briefer, and he said the snow and rain is going to hold off for about 2 hours, and then it's supposed to start picking up. The winds are supposed to stay around 7 knots till about 10 this morning. So, you know, there's a window. If you feel comfortable flying, go ahead and fly. If you don't, you know, don't go if you don't feel comfortable. I haven't really got an updated forecast.
How long are you going to leave the field open today, this morning, to make your decision?
I'll probably leave it open for an hour.
Okay. You gotta know that.
Yeah, 8:45 we'll close the field down. Yeah.
I know that
go through that one more time.
Trying to do something about standing up. We were thinking about maybe trying to do it tether ourselves. We'll just kind of play it by ear, but if anybody wants to help us out.
Yeah, we'd like to stay in the shape of it if we can.
Okay. So for anybody that isn't planning on flying, they could use a lot of help trying to set these balloons up.
Actually, the help is going to be getting the cotton picker thing back in the bag.
Okay.
Yeah. With
we'll just put it in the truck and warm it up and then take it down.
In your truck.
Gus, could you do that one more time?
Put the envelope in there. We'll help. It'll be a great
Next briefing will be at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
It'll be a self-propelled balloon. Let's go rip
back at the hotel.
2 o'clock, you said?
Carl.
Yeah. Where are you going to lay it out? We'll help you.
Up there. I'll come up and help you.
Paul?
Then I got 3 more troops.
Why don't we grab the thing around?
That's Western, Hudson Hot Air. Weather show exclamation.
Come on, Joe, punch your rear end. That's supposed to fight it.
I'm going to come out of one of these now. Right up, not there yet. Here, right there.
Please walk out to the street. Snowbanks. We also have a green mat.
A lot of weight on the sides of the back.
Going up in the sky. As you see these balloons getting inflated, which balloons go up, you can see the air currents moving side to side, all directions. They will walk. If you have gloves and are willing to do a little work, to make it go woof. These balloons cost a lot of money, so please give them plenty of...
See, the thing is, with one line in this type of wind, the balloon will rock and roll. Having two on it, you vector it out, and we're the stablest balloon out there, so that's how it sounds.
From Stillwater, Minnesota. Balloon, Randy and Windy, please go to their balloon. Centerfield, breaking in American Online.
Okay. And when I pull down normally on this rope here, see how that whole parachute comes down? Well, what Smart Vent does is it gathers the material at the very middle.
We're located a couple blocks from here. Talk to Jim Henry, the realtor. He might be able to sell you a house. I'm sure he's got some nice, lovely houses in the community for sale. Plus, talk to the pilot. That is our second tonight. We have the hot air balloon, moon glow, or field of fire. Just start to... Once again, please give the balloons plenty of space and welcome to the 12th annual Hot Air Affair. Without your support, tomorrow we have the balloon launch in the morning. We have a pancake breakfast. Give them plenty of space. But inflated, he's going to have it there. You can see April. April Love is up.
So she snowshoes.
Oh, she loves to sing. They want to flow.
Take one more. Oh,
Beautiful. Come on, Brett, one more. You gotta line this bad boy up. You gotta get the right distance. You gotta get the right power. All right. Hey, you've done pretty well. Let's see if you can put this in a toilet bowl. Quiet, please. Brett Park's about to shoot him. Shot. Oh! Rim the cup. Brett, that was the best golfing we've seen today. Hey, shoot, Brett.
Really? I thought I bought one.
Man with the raccoon gloves wants to run too. You did pretty well in the bowling, sir. How'd you do it? Block. Block. We saw too. How are you? Goalie's better half, I'm assuming. Right. All right. He goes. Almost. Ugly as ever. You're their manager, and your name is?
Phoebe.
Phoebe Buffet, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go figure. So, you know, I must say you girls are dashing. I think we're gonna have to leave something off there, but those are beautiful.
Where do we register?
I'm gonna. Miss, I'm gonna. Okay. And this is Miss Trailer Trash. And we have the mustached one here, Miss Double Wide. And we have Miss Scotty. Yes. And you know, allegedly one of the smooshbucklers is a dentist, and I'll get the card for you ladies after.
We don't need that.
You don't need that. No, you girls are absolutely adorable.
We're good.
Absolutely adorable.
Where do we register, sir?
Where is Cindy Brown? Cindy Brown will take your registration for smooshboarding right over by the Pepsi booth.
Okay.
Yes, Ed. Go! The double wide crew has an innovative set of boards this year. I'm telling you what, ugly doesn't translate to speed.
Okay, back turn. Turn. Wave.
Do what you can. The jumping turtles are cooking with gas. Okay. Obviously, there were some things missed in the instructions. We're going to do a little interview here with the turtles. I think you can afford a half-hour interview and still clean their clocks pretty good. What's that? This is a new breed of turtles, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the turtles have not won a race in their life. Double wide has just proved them wrong. You didn't get a chance to practice like I couldn't tell. My goodness. Double wide, you need more than practice. Yeah, I'll touch your sash if I don't pick up a communicable disease or anything on the way. All right, okay, I think we can, somebody will get a front end loader or something, we'll get double wide off the course side. The good looking tie-dye tees. All right, you ready, girls? You ready, gremlins? On your mark. Get set. Somebody give me a cup of coffee. Go! And they're off. Oh, the girls take an early lead. They look fast, ladies and gentlemen. They may have a boat anchor on the end, but I think the life flight
Slow down.
There we go. Life flight takes the early lead. The gremlins, I think, are just getting in unison around the corner. This could be closer than it looks, ladies and gentlemen. It's snow down there. That's still all right. They're looking tired. Here comes the military. Oh, this could be close. This could be close.
defend our country. Oh! Lifetime percentage win. Oh, you got excited and you piddled on the carpet. My goodness. And these people defend our country. You did fine. It's double elimination. Go back to your commander. Get the next pep talk and come out fighting next time. Okay. Next two teams are buckler flag being raised down there. I don't know if that, was it fair that these guys did that? Oh my goodness. They're boys, I would recommend staying clear. Bring it up. Bring it up. All right, Life Touch is cruising to what looks to be an easy victory. This Bushbuckler team is just going down in flames. I'm sorry, darling, they just look terrible. Oh, man. Okay, Bushbucklers, anything to say for yourselves here? Yeah, Jenny, 1-900 Jenny Craig, boys. Okay, let's just get across the line here. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, could we get a resounding goodbye for the Swishbucklers? And they're off. Baywatch is out quick. Oh, so is First National. Baywatch team is off, aren't they? You watch, though. You don't think the Baywatch will take you down? Watch this. As usual, the Bakers get the inside track.
Left.
All right, Baywatch, you look like you're feeling strong this time. All right, First National break. Yes, maybe close. They may stumble. Keep it up. There they go. And Baywatch is the winner. Get set. Go. Well, the Turtles are out fast. That Life Touch has a clean edge going here. Taking it down by taking it today. Turn. Oh. Did you guys really push those little girls? Did you really push them? Oh, the jumping turtles are fast. Go girls, pick up ground. And it's the jumping turtles. 2 wins in a row. I'd like someone to do a steroid check on the jumping turtles. They have moved. I'd like to talk to you while you're out here, boys. If you just hang on just a second. Oh. Well, the boys took the early lead. But as most of us males know, we have no shot. Don't put anything on these girls. They look shot in the mirror when they are anything but. Lucas, I'd like to talk to you here, but what's up? Have anything to say, Ryan? Oh, no. Not at this point. Oh, did the girls really fall? I can't believe it. It's hard to believe that the girls fell. I may need some help here, folks. Okay. This is going to be close. It's really going to be close. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe it. Can you believe these guys in slow motion? There's not a winner yet! Get set! Go! All right, Baywatch is out to an early start.
Okay,
let's get up, yeah.
Okay, ready?
Left.
Rochelle. Looks like Baywatch is going to win this heat easy.
Let's just carry him.
All right, turtles.
I don't like beer.
All right. Kevin, are the two good set? Go! Watch it there, darling. No contact, folks. Boys took his early lead. Girls are cheering for him right here. They took the inside track, and that's a smart move. Oh, here comes the turtles. So they rounded in the corner now. This is going to be my goodness. That looked like the Hindenburg. Right touch the side.
We had the turn.
The jumping turtles are historic. Let's hear it for the jumping turtles. We've got the cameraman here for the photo finish of this race. Like that, we got to turn you around because you're not going to win anything. Head that direction. Here we go. Baywatch, are you ready? Here you are at the verge of victory. I think your first international title. Right. What do you got to say? They're going to take it.
Costume winners.
Okay.
We're going to take
No contact. Got it? No contact.
Right.
On your marks. Get set. Go. And they're off. They're starting out fast, folks. Oh, Baywatch is through. The boys kind of came out of their shoes there. Oh. Well, it's kind of like taking a math test. Sometimes things just don't come together. Oh, another one of those Firestone Frontier ATs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Baywatch coming down the home stretch to win their first International Smoothboard Championship of the World. Come out into the center here. More importantly than winning, we have to judge costumes. So we will do that by crowd applause. Although I somehow think this is not going to be real close this year. Let them know what you think of them, folks. Let them know what you think. Thank you! I'll tell you what, folks, don't be fooled by the sympathy vote having him carry a small child. It's not his. He picked the child up by the trailer when she was getting a cup of hot chocolate. It is not his child. Okay, teams flat out. Life touch, Baywatch, yes. All right, turtles, where are the turtles? Well, get out of here, turtles. You know, those costumes are truly scary. Come on up. All right. Girl, we'll do life touches once.
Hey, Cindy.
Come on up, girls.
Cindy.
All right. My crowd applause.
Cindy.
life touch.
The first team will judge is the life touch massage team. Okay, thank you, mothers and dads. All right, the next team that we're going to judge is the Baywatch team. Okay, they all watch the TV show, but... All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next we have the Turtles. I'm just going to tell you that right now, to be fair. Okay, the next team we're going to judge, and please, no applause here, the Smooshbucklers! Oh my goodness, for a second I thought I went deaf there. And last but certainly not least, and those pilots who are still here waiting for a date can cheer especially loud. We have the Double Wide. Are the Double Wide. competition for this year. Thanks for coming. We have all the winners, the double lines. If you can come over by Cindy Brown right here, raising your hand to collect your prizes, as well as the Baywatch team for first place in the competition. The Smooshbucklers, I'm sorry to see you go once again, boys. It was good hating you again. You're here for a prize? Grab some snow, as much as you want. Thanks for coming, folks. Once again, welcome to the 2001 Space Odyssey Hot Air Affair. 1, let's keep the great balls of fire.
'Morning, my name is Pete Riley. I'm a balloon meister for the 2001 Hudson Hot Air Affair. We tried to get some flights off this weekend. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate. We did have a beautiful moon glow last evening. Unfortunately, the weather officer we hired for the event didn't pull through, so next year we're going to hire a new one. I'll let these gentlemen at the table introduce themselves. These are some of the corporate sponsors of the event. And maybe we'll go ahead and start with you, Benny.
Hi, I'm Benny Schwankowski from the American Line Balloon Team. We're based out of the Chicago area, and we're currently on a tour of about 35 different communities this year for American Line. And we brought 2 balloons up this year to fly, our new special shape monitor, as well as a brand new conventional balloon that we have now named Instant Message.
All right.
George Ibach with the Spring Green Lawn Tree Care Hot Air Balloon Team. This was our inaugural inflation of our new balloon for our program. We're on a 3-year marketing campaign. We'll be in the Midwest, the East Coast, and possibly in the Northwest, in Oregon, Washington in the future. Like I say, this was the first flight of our program, and we were honored to be at the Hudson Hot Air Affair with our balloon.
All right, well, thanks for coming up.
I'm Carl Peterson. I'm Vice President and Director of the Hot Air Balloon Division for Wells Fargo Bank. We operate basically in 50 states. Our banks are in 23 states. We operate basically in the western U.S. We have a fleet of 5 hot air balloons. We brought, this year we brought up 2 balloons that, one standard shape and our newest shape, which is a stagecoach. Sorry about my phone.
And you're a popular guy, right?
So we operate 40 or 45 weekends out of the year somewhere with our fleet. We operate all the time, and our fleet consists of 2 standard shapes. We have 2 special shapes that are shaped with piggy banks, 1 boy piggy bank and 1 girl piggy bank, and then again our shape, the stagecoach. So we're excited to be here this year.
Well, thank you.
I'm Gordon Schwankowski. I'm crew chief for the America Online Hot Air Balloon Team. I do a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, keeping our program and our equipment up and running, and out on the field, making our pilot and our equipment look good, and generally helping out anywhere we can.
And you are staff photographer, right?
Staff photographer also, yes.
All right, well, thank you. And okay, any impressions about flying in the winter, you guys?
It's fabulous. Winter flying, I myself enjoy it immensely. I really look forward to the winter flying. Of course, I'm a native of Minnesota, so winter flying is real common for me.
There's nothing like flying over the countryside and seeing a fresh blanket of snow, especially as George and I both flew on Friday morning, and the people were coming out, and as we flew over the school, we saw the children all waving to us. The people just love the balloons, especially in the Hudson area, and as we landed too, the people had come out. It's just something that's neat, something to be seen, and balloons being a friendly object, it's like a Pied Piper. We sort of are the Pied Pipers, and it's just a unique feeling to not only go up and experience that, but to share what we do with the community, such as Hudson.
A few people were asking last night. It seems like more and more of the corporate balloons, when we do the moon glows, really stand out and make their presence known. Is that one of the things you guys do when you choose a design for your balloons nowadays, to kind of make some of these stand out during the moon glows?
Well, without a doubt, the glows are pretty popular at a lot of events, and the photographers' dream, I guess, to come out and take all types of neat pictures. Our new balloon, we wanted something different for our conventional, and it's actually designed to be complementary with our balloon support vehicle. It was actually designed by Gordon, and it stands out, and ironically, in a balloon glow, it just really is quite vivid. We've received a lot of compliments from AOL members and just people out on the field, and even other balloon teams, which is a compliment too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of comments made last night about the change in appearance of balloons, and how the moon glow really stands out with the new colors and the lightness of the fabric. It really seemed to light up the sky. So a lot of comments made last night about that.
Good.
Yeah, when we were building our balloons and choosing colors, that was part of our factor, was how would it glow. On our conventional shape, which we did not have out here, that was one of our factors, is that we based it on our exterior signage for the corporation. But that is a white stagecoach on a red and black sign. Well, we reversed that for the conventional, so it's a black stagecoach on the red and white. So that way, when we did glow, it would stand out as a black shadow. So it's a real factor.
Well, it was beautiful last night. What a sight.
Yeah, we're pleased with the shape, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it appears to be.
Yeah. How many ground crew did you have too? I noticed that was an exceptional amount.
Well, our balloon weighs about 850 pounds, so we like to have 20 or 25 people. That way, many hands make for light work rather than all of us tugging and pulling and lugging. We're kind of lazy that way. What is that, the Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer logic? We get our buddies to paint the fence. That's our goal.
But everybody wants to get involved with the balloons. I mean, from when we land or any balloonist land, if you just ask people, they'll be more than happy to help pack up the balloon or hold it, or the little kids jumping on top of the envelope bag to help squeeze the air out. It's really great for the community. Plus, they get to see the other side, because a lot of times they see the balloon coming in, but they don't know what happens afterwards. We get people that come up that say, "Where do you hanger that balloon? Where do you find 8-story hangers?" It's like, no, it fits in the back of this little truck. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Right. It's like, yes, it does. It's amazing how you can put a big balloon in a little 3-foot bag.
Well, I think it's a way we can share our sport. I mean, how many people do we all know as balloonists that got the balloon bug because they had an opportunity somewhere along the way to participate? Somebody landed, they got a chance to pack it up, they got to talking to somebody, the next thing you know, they're out there.
Take each other ride, and then they go for a ride, and
yeah.
Next thing you know, they're taking flight instructions.
Yeah, so it's important for us to share our sport, but it's also lots of fun. And it's a good way to get out of the work. We get to pack balloons all the time anyway, right? I've done it before. I don't know about you guys, but if I miss a chance to pack it up by myself, oh darn.
Oh gee, yeah.
Yeah, it tears me up.
And Bennett, where's the stealth balloon? Is that secret been let out anymore here this weekend?
No, I don't think that has been. Oh, okay. With every balloon, everybody wants to give mementos to local people that either help or spectators. We have trading cards. A lot of balloons have trading cards and pins, and we even have a stealth balloon pin. In fact, I think you're wearing one, and even Carl's wearing one of our stealth balloon pins.
Yes.
So something a little bit different.
See, it's right there on your left lapel, isn't it?
Oh, yes,
right,
it is.
right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have little souvenirs and mementos to give out. So it's part of recognition or as an award. And plus there's a lot of people that want to collect them. And you'll see pin collections out there, including from Albuquerque, that have 300, 400, 500 pins in it. It's just another way that people can get involved in the sport too.
What's your impression here, running around the country and doing the PR? And
there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work in a corporate balloon program that most people don't realize. Everything from equipment design, maintenance, coordinating crew members. Each flight, we figure every flight hour takes between 4 and 7 hours of preparation and follow-up. And when you see a pretty balloon floating through the sky, you really don't realize, if you're just taking it in for enjoyment, what it takes to put one together and to wrap one up. And so from a crew perspective, the pilot is in command of the balloon, but it does take a support staff to keep the program up and running. And that's what we do as crew.
All right, well, I really appreciate you gentlemen taking the time out to help me fill some time here for the folks around Hudson, and I'll see you next year.
Great, thank you.
We're excited to be back.
We'll be back.
Good morning, I'm Bennett Schwankowski with the American Line Balloon Team, and we're here in Hudson, Wisconsin for a wonderful balloon flight and part of the Hudson Hot Air Affair. Right now we're setting up our basket, which the basket takes a pilot and 2 guests up for a flight. Fuel on board is about 40 gallons of propane, which in today's temperature will last us a little over 4 hours. Our burners put out a tremendous amount of heat, and that's going to be our heat source. It's equivalent to one person's house and 200 of their neighbors turning on their furnaces at the same time. It's very powerful. So what we're going to do is set up our basket, take our balloon out, fill it with regular air, and then heat that air, and we'll be taking off from Hudson here. So on behalf of the AOL Balloon Team, we'll see you, Hudson, up from above. The Cameron balloons are made actually in Bristol, England, as well as Ann Arbor, Michigan. They make about 300 balloons a year overall, including special shapes. And balloons come in different sizes. There's balloons that take up just a pilot, to balloons as large as a pilot and 16 passengers at one time. Our balloon is pretty much a mid-size, takes a pilot and 2 or 3 adults, so it's considered the Monte Carlo of balloons. The burner is fueled by liquid propane gas, and it puts out a tremendous amount of heat. In fact, 20 million BTUs. It's enough, I guess, to cook a hot dog in about 4 to 6 seconds. The flame goes up about 7 to 8 feet, and you'll feel the warmth, actually, of the burner. Tremendous amount of heat. It's pretty quiet too as you fly in the balloon. You really only need to put the burner on probably once every minute for about 4 to 6 seconds. So it's a very tranquil and peaceful flight.
See if we can lift this and keep off the pavement. Getting it back in the bag. Because it comes out that size, we got to put it back in. Cold weather flying, the heat just doesn't want to get out of it, so you got to really smash it back in. And
introduce yourself, please.
My name is Glenn O'Connell. I'm from Illinois, good friend of Bennett Trunkowski. I own a balloon too, and I've been flying for about 20 years. And I'm just helping my friend out. I'm not going to fly this morning, but Bennett is, so I'm just going to give him a hand.
All right, well, thanks for coming up.
You're welcome.
All right, 318 below.
I'm the crew chief for the America Online Hot Air Balloon team. Right behind me we have the brand new America Online Hot Air Balloon. If you want to take a look inside, we're ready to inflate. In about another 2 minutes we'll add some heat and we'll stand this one up.
The America Online balloon was made out of over 1,600 yards of ripstop nylon. The bottom of the balloon is made out of Nomex, which is a material that doesn't burn because of the heat of all the burner. That's why they have it there, even though the flame is pencil thin. We're about ready to take off. We do have instruments that tell us what's happening with the balloon for altitude. We also have a GPS that tells us where we're going and how fast. And we've got fuel gauges on each of our tanks that tells us what the quantity is that's left. Looks like a beautiful day in Hudson. AOL Balloon is glad to be here and part of the Hudson Hot Air Affair.
I understand there's 2 balloons now with the AOL, correct?
Yes, this is our brand new conventional balloon, and we have also a special shape balloon, which is sitting in the back of the truck.
That's shaped like a monitor.
Yes, it weighs 736 pounds. And it's called Sky Monitor Air. It was named by one of the employees of the American Land Call Center now because you can ask them if breakfast is ready yet. We've been invited in for breakfast by different people. We've also landed and tethered the balloon, put a rope on it, and taken up the kids in the neighborhood, so it's pretty fun. But just the whole community, it's a great way to beat the winter doldrums, and just Hudson's a great place in general.
And how many years have you
been flying balloons for 25 years and have about 1,800 flights that I've piloted.
And how many times have you come to the Hot Air Affair?
Probably 7 or 8 different years. It's a great event. Even though I'm from the Chicago area, it's a great group gathering of not only the pilots but the local community. It's something that you want to do, and you do. America Online because we're part of the community and have a lot of members in the area. That's why we chose to participate again this year.
Okay, and our other passenger here, is this your first time, sir?
No, this is my second time up. I flew one time last fall, and I'm from Neilsville, Wisconsin. I worked with Bennett met him down in Dells, what was it, 2-3 years ago?
Probably about 3 years ago?
Yeah, and helped him with the balloon down there. Fly with Glenn O'Connell out of, what is it, Crystal Lake? Carpentersville, Illinois. Been working on his crew for about 4 years, so.
Okay, so you're not a first timer?
No.
Looking back, the Garfield balloon is taken off, and will be taken off also. When you buy a balloon, they give you a blank piece of paper and 48 karat crayons and say color it. Any way you color it is the way that they'll build it. So you get to design your own balloon and your ego comes into it. You want to have the prettiest balloon, but yet when you fly in the balloon, you're always looking down and seeing what's out there. You don't really take advantage of it. It's people on the ground. Also, your balloon lends itself to its own personality and you put a name with it, just like a boat. So everybody has a different balloon name too, and that can be just as much fun. Just like coloring a balloon to figure out what the name of the balloon is going to be.
Balloon. So that'll be going down.
How's that? Better?
Great, thank you.
The last 7 years I've had 3 couples flown out of their weddings. 3 couples got married while we flew, including 1 couple from America Online, and 2 guys have proposed and the girls have said no. So nothing surprises me anymore.
They didn't like ballooning, I guess.
They didn't like perhaps the offer that was presented to them. The balloon together, get it up in the air, as well as chase the balloon and be there when you land. Somebody that with a good knowledge of the area is great because they can tell you which way you're essentially going and be there and know where it's good to land and where there are sometimes a few places where you shouldn't. So good local crew is helpful and they're good strong backs because the equipment does have some weight to it. Now we're going to go through a different little bit of layer of wind here, and at 1,000 feet, every 1,000 feet in altitude we go up, we'll lose 3 degrees of temperature, so it'll get colder. And I know you can say, wow, it's 10 below zero right now in Hudson, how cold can it get? Well, if we go to 5,000 feet above the ground, it'll be about 25 degrees below zero. And that's a standard rate that we use for temperature difference. Yet, we have to name it. Special shape monitor. For a while we called it 732 pieces. Weighs how much? 732 pounds. But
that's funny. What chiropractic hasn't been involved in ballooning?
Well, you have fun with the balloon, which we do, and it's a great goodwill ambassador, especially for the company, and they love the balloon too. I mean, the employees really rally around it, as well as we have a lot of people that come up that tell us stories on how they met on America Online and all types of neat things too. Meanwhile, it's a great way to just see aerial reconnaissance. People tell me if you're looking for a house, is this a way to do it? Well, it could. It's also a great way for a roofer to ascertain new projects that he should be doing.
And not to mention deer hunters.
I have flown, and the noise of the burner can sometimes startle livestock a little bit, as well as deer. So you do want to watch out for them, and you can watch the deer just romping through the forest, and they tend to start to move over to the side as they see the balloon coming, and they think it's a predator, just like, you know, a person walking or shotgun blast. But I can't believe it. It's a beautiful morning looking up. I have flown in Hudson before. I have flown over to the north of town, and it's such a pretty area to fly. It really is. Meanwhile, and you can see that we are sliding to the south and going toward it. What will happen is if we start to descend, based on the surface winds, we're going to go to the north. So we try and tack the balloon like a giant sailboat and use those winds to our advantage. That's how it works. Half the adventure about ballooning is you don't know where you're going to go, when you're going to get there, and who you're going to meet. And I've landed and been invited in for steak and wine dinners. We've started block parties, and in all of 1,800 times, we've only had 2 people that really didn't like the fact the balloon landed. So it's pretty popular. Now, as we start to descend here a little bit, we're going to do that. We'd like you to yawn once and roll your tongue around in your mouth. It will relieve your ears from popping.
No, that trick can fly with 3 ears.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like we've almost stalled out, but we're actually moving just a little bit. At the top of the balloon, for your balloon technology fans, at the very top is a circular panel called the parachute top. When we pull on this red rope, it activates that top and pulls down that piece of fabric to let, of course, the hottest of the air out, which is at the top of the balloon. So that'll initiate a descent, slow down how fast you're climbing, or terminate the flight if you held on to it for a long time. So you do have control for ascending and descending. It's the left and right movement. The only way to achieve that is by finding a wind at a different altitude that's more desirable. So, as you can see, Garfield's up now taking a look at Hudson, and I think he likes what he sees. And he's probably checking out the local lasagna palaces.
It was a lot warmer that day, though.
Yeah. Site or a target, and they put a big 50-foot X out in it in the field, and it's orange, made out of nylon, so you can't miss it. Or perhaps that 1 yard that had a Viking reaction to it. And what you do is you use those winds and you try and steer the balloon toward it. So right now, as you see, as we've descended, we're starting to go more to the west, and as we descend even another 150 feet toward the surface, that's going to kick us right over toward the building and toward the high school. So that's how you steer the balloon, is you use those different winds to catch the balloon in where you want to go. So. Looks like a big foot imprint. So you do touch and go landings, and it looks like Bigfoot was in Hudson.
And there goes the crew. Sure. Let me. I'll hop up and
just Hey, hand me the blindfold.
You trying to hit that little flag right there?
No, that's too close. 1, 2, 2.5. Flex your knees. Yep. Now this is the fun part. This is where the basket's and the people start screaming, Annie, it's okay, we're gonna go on. That's okay, we're gonna fly on, we're having too much fun. You've got balloons.
Well, this is where all the classes stop and all the heads go out the windows there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had as many as 23 kindergartners in this basket at one time. In our basket stuffing contest that we always do. Each school we go to give a presentation at. Usually, as we just take off, I go, your first flight? And they go, yeah, and I go, me too. I guess I have a captive audience. I'm like the David Letterman of pilots, you know? I get to try out my new material, or old material. I was going to ask you,
how many hours do you have in balloons?
About 1,800. Yeah. Of course, obstacles, and the biggest obstacle is power lines. You have to have a high respect for those. And all pilots do. We have a map that's provided by our race officials that shows us Hudson. as well as the places where we can go and where we shouldn't be landing.
So there's these.
The reds are no, the yellows are fly through. So
touchy farm animals in the
There could be some ostriches or some other animals, or perhaps a bad experience with a balloon. Maybe somebody was discourteous. I landed at one in Naperville, Illinois, and as I came into land, there were 3 kids playing basketball there. Within 3 minutes after I landed, the parking lot was full and there were 500 people out there, all in awe of the balloon landing. And we took out a rope and tethered 78 kids up in the air in 45 minutes, got all the kids up for tethered balloon rides, and they just thought that was the best. And it's just a big, huge, magical Pied Piper, the balloon. It just, brings a lot of people together. And that's what's neat about it.
AOL the tree.
We're high enough where it doesn't bother us, and we're right now at 600 feet above the ground, above Hudson, and that's because we started at 650, so we're at 1350, so we're actually about 700 feet above the ground. And what we're going to do is just keep the balloon in a level flight. So it means taking your burner right here, and by pushing in on this and counting, going 1, 2, 3, 4, what I call a burn. Okay? So that's all you're going to have to do. Now I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to give you this one over here to use. So that'll be your burner. Okay? And right now we're climbing, so we don't need any heat yet, but you're going to become a student pilot here, okay?
Okay.
You ever done this before?
No.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Just loggable time?
That would be good.
I just hope there's no 700-foot tall trees, I guess. So.
You can hear the kids in the neighborhood.
The dogs will start barking a lot, and that's because the noise of the burner, the frequency of the pitch upsets their ears. But if you watch them, they wag their tails, they're happy to see you. And I've even landed where they train Doberman pinchers, and that's still true. So, they do. Oh, what a beautiful day. And right now, if we get up a little bit higher, we're going to get a little bit more wind. So why don't you give it one burn, please? Go ahead. Yep, go ahead. And one more. Okay. And one more. Now, right now, like I said, the reaction time is 4 to 6 seconds from the time he burns till the time the balloon actually reacts. So we're constantly flying ahead of ourselves. By putting in the 3 burns, we were descending at about 300 feet a minute. Right now, we would have leveled off with 2 burns, but right now the 3rd burn actually gave us a climb rate of about 200 feet a minute. So we're going to go up probably to about 1,000 feet above the ground to catch that wind that's going to the south to give us a little bit more running room for our potential landing area. In the last 8 years, I've had monarch butterflies in September climb and sit on the balloon as high as 1,000 feet. They think the balloon's a giant colorful flower and they pollinate it while you fly, so that's pretty cool. And we're climbing up to about 1,000 feet above the ground. We're almost at 1,000 feet above the ground. And any other balloons take off? Nope. You can scan back and see where we took off from. We've sort of started to do a loop, more or less, in regards to direction. That's the noise of the heat actually reflecting off the top of the balloon. Yeah, right, there's a little bit of, you heard that little bit of crunchiness?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually the heat reflecting. Like your house furnace is 100,000 BTUs on average, 100 to 150,000. Our burner above our head is 20 million BTUs. That's like 200 houses putting on their furnaces simultaneously at the same time. One more burn, please. And one more burn. By Cameron Balloons in December 22nd is when we picked it up, and the first time we took it out was actually January 1st to take a look at it, and then on January 13th we actually took it out and flew it for a 3-hour flight, and today's its first real public appearance that it's been flown at, so we're glad to be here at the Hudson Hot Air Affair, and our AOL balloon is flying high over Hudson.
And
the balloon The balloon will actually fly for about 400 flight hours. Most people fly for fun as a sporting pilot about 40 hours a year. As a commercial balloon, we're out with this one probably about 125 hours a year. So we get substantial more use. And
the viewers around Hudson will really appreciate this once we get her in the air.
I believe they will, yes.
Thank you. There's the guard.
Totally, you know, you really can't compare them. This is beautiful.
Almost back to where we started, right? Of course, so they're going to have to, what we call tornado the air or force it to the top. So they'll put a big hug around it and start forcing the air out. That balloon was probably running about 100 degrees inside today. If he's flying himself, and probably. Touch that.
It heats up unevenly. It's hotter at the equator than it is at the North Pole or the South Pole. So the air gets hot here, it's cold up here, and then the Earth is spinning like air in a blender. Okay, the Earth is spinning, it's causing the air to be moved around, but another thing is happening. There's mountains. Well, the mountains kind of push the air in front of them, and there's oceans and valleys, and the air kind of falls down in them. And so we've got this uneven surface of the Earth pushing through the air as it spins and causing all that air to move around. But the sun is what gives it the energy. When the sun shines on the Earth and heats it, it moves in a certain way. I need a helper. Okay, good. How about in the orange sweatshirt over there? Yeah. And your name is? Jeff, would you stand on the top of the stool? Okay, hold this, please. Little weather predicting device called a spinner. I'm going to heat the air around the spinner. And when I do, you should see it begin to move. Good. Right, it's twisting in a certain direction. Because I'm only heating the air on the bottom so I can show you what direction does the hot air move. In order to make the spinner move, don't make this difficult. If I'm heating the air underneath it, what direction is the air moving? Up, right, it's moving up. It's causing the spinner to spin, but the air is actually moving up. This is the weather part. Hot air rises. It seems to weigh less. It moves away from the Earth, so we call it low pressure or less pressure. Just think of it as less pressure. When a weather person says we're getting a low pressure system, it means warm air. Warm air holds more water vapor, so there's probably going to be a storm. Give me a hand for helping me out. Thank you very much. Your breath is warm. Steam from a teapot is warm. They hold a lot of water vapor. Think about that. Warm means low pressure, means rising air. If I reverse the experiment, I know I have to use protective equipment for this because I'm going to use a material that's cold enough to take away the energy from the air around the spinner. This is, who knows what this is? Yep, liquid nitrogen. What that means is it's the liquid form of nitrogen gas that's all around us. It's not any acid, it's not burning anything. It's so cold that it would burn your skin, so you have to be very careful, and I have to know what to do because even a drop of it in my eye or on my skin would give me a really nice, big, undesired burn blister. It's so cold, when nitrogen gas is cooled, it turns into a liquid. You know, water turns into a liquid when it reaches the, above 32 degrees. You know, if it's frozen and you warm it up to 32 degrees, it starts to melt. Okay? Water turns into ice at 32 degrees, you know what I'm saying? Nitrogen gas turns into a liquid at 320 degrees below zero. So that's the temperature of what I have in my cup, 320 degrees below zero. So it's about 300 degrees colder than it ever gets in Minnesota and about 310 degrees colder than it was today. Northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota might get 30 below zero, but this is 320 below zero. I need a helper. Okay, how about in the lei, in the Hawaiian shirt? Thank you very much. This will be easier to see if we don't use the stool, I think. Come on up, what's your name? Let's hold on to the spinner. Please turn so people can face you and put this over. Yeah, so it's away from the kids in the front row. I'm going to cool the air around the spinner this time. I'm just going to let the cold air come out of the container. What you're seeing, the steam, is not the nitrogen gas. It's just as invisible as it is in the room. It's cold water vapor that's becoming visible when the water vapor in the air condenses near the cold liquid nitrogen. Watch what's happening. Spinning. Cold air sinks. What direction is the spinner spinning? The same as it was before? Opposite, yeah, like backwards. So cold air sinks. It's heavy. Seems to weigh more. That would be more pressure, like it's being squeezed. And as it sinks, the air spins in the opposite direction. Give her a hand for helping me. Thank you very much. That is the basis for weather. You should be able to understand most of what they're saying now on television. You're understanding that that mixture of gases is pretty special. It moves, it has weight, it exerts pressure. Hot air rises, seems to weigh less, has less pressure, moves away from the earth, and holds a lot of water vapor, just like your hot breath does. That's one way to remember it. Cold air seems to fall, seems to weigh more, or does fall. It seems to weigh more. It's mostly because it's dense, not because it's all that much heavier. But as it does, hot air and cold air exchange positions all around the world. Remember, weather's not just happening here outside of Hudson. It's happening in Hawaii, in Antarctica, in India, where people are trying to recover. It's quite warm right now, where people are trying to recover from the earthquake. Temperature and movement of the earth are changed and affected by lots of different things, but understanding how those things work together should help us figure out a few more things about weather. I'm going to show you some weather pictures so I can apply the things that you just learned to something that's real. Okay, I need the lights out in that room, please. Clouds. It's probably one of the simplest things to talk about. What are clouds made of? They're puffy things, some kids said the other day. What? Water. Yeah, just water droplets. You can't see clouds. We're probably surrounded by clouds right now, but it's not in the same definition because you can't see them. Clouds are water droplets that turn from invisible to visible. And they do that for several reasons. The air contains a lot of water vapor. It's hot, and when it rises away from the earth, there is a drop in temperature and pressure in the troposphere. That drop in temperature And then not the drop in pressure, but the increase in pressure to the same thing that happens when you take a shower. Hot air full of water vapor hits the cold walls of the bathroom and it condenses. The water drops become visible. You make a cloud. The water droplets have to have something to gather around. They usually gather around dust and pollution that's up in the air. These cumulus clouds could mean nice weather, but if there's enough energy, enough hot air rising in water vapor, the droplets will gather together in the troposphere until they fall, or at least until the cloud becomes really visible. I just gave you enough information to tell me what ingredients I need to make a cloud. I'll make a cloud in the bottom. Repeat for me what I need. Yep. Right. I need some pollution or dirt or dust. I'll use some smoke. What else do I need? I need some water, and I need it to be warm. So I'll start by putting liquid water in my jar, and I'll swish it around, and I'll dump it out. I don't need liquid water. I need water vapor. So now I've got some nice moisture in my bottle. What else do I need? Yeah. Yeah, I need to increase the pressure. When it's cold, I need to get a temperature change. So I'll blow my hot air into the bottle. That should increase the temperature. When I take away my breath, the cooler air that's under higher pressure out in the room, that should rush into the bottle the way the air can't rush into the balloon. The air should rush into the bottle and make the water droplets visible. Here's my pollution, my smoke. Waiting for the match to go out. Okay. All right, watch and see what happens. Once more. Cloud in the bottle. You can do this in any bottle. All you need are the right ingredients. It's that drop in pressure, or the drop in temperature, the increase in pressure, which causes those drops to condense. Once more. Nice big fog cloud. You can try that yourselves. A cloud will not form until it reaches a level up in the troposphere where it's cold enough for the drops of water to turn visible. Now the wind's going to blow these away, and this is no big deal unless there's enough energy to push a cloud up. Some of you have watched clouds grow. Have you done that before on a summer day? You watch the clouds get higher and higher and higher. The higher the cloud, the colder the air is, and the bigger the potential for the storm. When the clouds finally get to an area where it's high enough that it's so cold, the cloud can't rise anymore, there's too much pressure, the cloud starts to spread out like pancake batter, okay, in a griddle. It gets flat on top. It's even got a name. It's called an anvil cloud. Then you know it's going to be a big time storm. We don't usually see these unless we're really far away. But wherever you see this formation, there's a storm forming. Hot air is still rising, but cold air is now falling. The water drops are heavy enough, the water drops are carried down as rain. No problem. We need rain. In a mature thunderstorm, hot air and cold air is going up and down inside the storm. That's why you can't just fly an airplane into storms without it bouncing around, because the plane's being buffeted up and down by the different temperatures and the different energy levels of the air inside of it. We need the rain, that's okay, but a big storm, really high in the troposphere, can also create electrical energy. Electricity or electrical energy is nothing but a big static electrical spark. Not a problem, except for the fact that lightning happens to be 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's got so much energy, it moves at about 82,000 miles per second. It can move from cloud to cloud. It can move from cloud to the ground. It can even move from the ground back up to the cloud. The point is, lightning moves from a positive to a negative, or a negative to a positively charged area. You know, like that electricity thing, like a battery. Wherever there's a negative, there's somewhere there's a positive, and the attraction between the two, the equalizing of that is that electrical spark. More people are killed by lightning in the United States than by any other natural disaster, including floods and hurricanes and tornadoes. Lightning kills between 200 and 500 people a year. I can make a lightning bolt for you in the room, but that won't be dangerous, by using an electrical generator. All I'm going to do is crank my handle on the generator, and I will move negative charges from one of my jars to the other jar. The attraction between the positive and negative should be visible as lightning. Maybe I can get a bigger one in here today. Yeah. What would happen if you put your finger in there? Yeah, you'd get a big shock. A big static shock. This one, unfortunately, packs quite a punch, so it would be a heck of a shock. Lightning takes the path of least resistance from the positive to the negative, the negative to the positive. So if I have the arms too far apart, it can't move that distance. Too much air, too much resistance. It takes a shortcut or a short circuit through the middle of the machine and gives me a big old zap, which is dangerous, so that's something I don't do unless I happen to do it by accident. But lightning is simply that static spark. Same thing that happens to, excuse me, sorry. Same thing that happens to you when you walk across a carpet, drag your feet, and then reach out and touch the cat's nose. You get a nice big static spark, only this is, of course, a lot more powerful. Enough energy creates a big swirling windstorm called a tornado. Tornadoes are pretty interesting. A lot of people study them. They make a whole career out of them. But really, you already know what causes it. You just learned it today. Same thing. Hot air rises in a column. It has so much energy that it causes the cold air way up in the troposphere to get, I'd say unstable. And it starts. They can cause a little bit of damage, blow off a few shingles, move the cat's dish around. They can pick up a cow, move it a mile away, drop it down, cow's fine, still eating. Pick up a carton of eggs, move it to 5 miles away, put it down, no eggs are broken. Blow a house apart in a second while your house right next door is untouched. Pick up a locomotive from a train engine, a steel locomotive, turn it around, set it down. Opposite direction, same track. Nobody knows. This is all goofy stuff. These are all true stories, but nobody knows what causes the kinds of things that happen in a tornado. We don't even know how fast the winds can blow. Tornadoes have been clocked at moving at least 200 miles an hour for the winds, but we don't know how fast they blow because no wind instruments have ever survived a direct hit from a tornado. Maybe you'll be the one to invent a machine, like the one that they couldn't get to work in Twister, that actually records the speed of a tornado. What I can show you is how a tornado is formed. I can have the lights. And give you some idea of what is going on the next time you see a tornado coming in person. We get more tornadoes in this part of the country, in the center of the United States, than anybody in the entire world gets. Many countries don't even have tornado storms. We get them because we're smack dab between the north and the equator and between the mountain ranges. I can't remember if I told you that before. The winds are moving up from the south, down from the north, over from the west, and sometimes from the east. So we get a lot of variety. And when the cold air and the warm air meet, the Great Plains is an area where the earth can release some of its energy. You know how you feel if you haven't had recess for a few days, or how you felt when you first came in the room and I need to get you down a little bit so I could do this program? You got a lot of energy. It's not a bad thing, but you got to get rid of it somehow or another, or else you have to control it. Well, the earth isn't big on control. So you can see that when I first get this heavy water, what's heavier, water or air? So the water will be the cold air, which is heavier than the hot. I get it moving way up on the top in the levels of the troposphere. Kind of the clouds dip down, they go up. No problem. The wind's going to blow this away. There's a few bubbles down the middle. That tornado's never going to touch down. There's just not enough energy. You see this happen all the time. Sometimes you even see the clouds get bunchy and puffy. But when the earth has a temperature, when it's too hot, like it is sometimes over the ocean, like it has been for the last few years, and it's getting warmer, then there's lots of storms, because the fastest way for hot air and cold air to exchange positions, when that hot air starts to rise and that cold air gets unstable, they exchange positions through the vortex. It is the classic tornado shape, the vortex. Now you got your wind swirling on the outside. In the middle, the hot air is rising through a column. There's no air. I mean, there's air, but there's no wind. The eye of the tornado is still. It's just low pressure, hot air rising. It's the cold air falling that causes all that spinning around the outside and the currents of the air that are going up and down. But the fastest way for hot air and cold air to exchange positions is the same fastest way for for water and air to exchange positions. Now you have at least some tools. So when you watch television or somebody, talks about the weather and they say, well, I wonder if tomorrow is going to be warmer or colder, you have a way to guess. That's what weather predicting is in a lot of ways. It's mostly a guess based on the behavior of the air. You can guess that if it's pretty damp out or if the forecast is for snow, it's probably going to get a little warmer than it is the day before. If somebody says it's going to be colder, you can guess that cold, high pressure is probably coming in from the north. Air's temperature and movement and all of the things that are hinging upon that help us to understand a little bit about how weather really happens. It's impossible to do a perfect job predicting. Nobody knows today or tomorrow when they put the hot air balloons up, nobody really knows what direction they're going to go. I mean, they know what direction the wind is on the surface. Well, we might rise 200 or 900 feet and the wind will be moving in the opposite direction. Even within our troposphere, the layers of air move differently. And so the hot air balloon sometimes can go, you'll see a pilot of a hot air balloon. How many of you have ever been in one? Good, I've been in one too. The pilot of a hot air balloon knows that at 200 feet they're going to go down the St. Croix River Valley. But at 900 feet, they're going to go maybe a different direction. And they can try to follow the winds around the world. People who try to circumnavigate or go around the world in a hot air balloon usually do so at very high altitudes using oxygen supplement. It's very cold. And they do it because the balloon moves with less resistance. It's pretty cool. But they need to know something about how the air behaves. Questions about weather? If I wanted to make it simple, I would tell you that a hurricane is really a huge tornado over water. What happens is when the winds start rising, the hot air starts rising, there's so much water. It keeps carrying more water up into the troposphere. Well, the winds spin, but there's so much water they can't spin as fast, for one thing. So the hurricane winds are only 75 miles an hour or over that. But there's a lot more water. Well, because there's so much water, the storm keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the shape is the same. It's the whirling clouds, and then it moves. Just like a tornado moves, the primary direction of the wind, that's why it runs out of water when it gets over land, because the water starts to fall and there's no new water for it. It spins in the same way. The hot air is rising, the cold air is sinking. It just got a lot more water, and it's a lot bigger, fatter storm, but not as fast. Yeah. When you flush the toilet waters, the water spin. You'll be happy to know that not all toilets have spinning systems. Some have systems that just push with pressure everything down the drain. Spinning is discovered to have been one of the fastest ways, like I said, for water and air, or for hot water and or for hot air and cold air to exchange positions. So some toilets were designed to make the water spin so they flushed faster. That's all. It's one way for the water to get out quick. Some of you know this in your bathtub drains and stuff. You probably have seen that little tornado that forms when you play in the bathtub with your rubber ducky. Anything else? Okay, you did a good job. It took me just as long to do your program as everybody else's. Thank you very much and have a good weekend. Watch those balloons.
I'm looking for ground crew, so if anybody's available. What I'm going to go over today is actually what I did for 9 years of my life at the Johnson Space Center, working the biomedical operations branch. And we did both operations support with the shuttle. With the International Space Station that's being built now, and also worked on the shuttle Mir program with the Russians. So I thought what I'd do is go through the type of operations that we did in our group, in the microbiology group at JSC, and through shuttle operations, do a Mir mission, some of the work we did with that, and then finish up with some advanced life support work that we were doing for habitation on Mars. And if you all have any questions while I'm doing this, raise your hand or see if we can answer. No physics, no biology. Okay? Worked at JSC as the Biomedical Operations and Research Branch. Our prime directive is making sure that the astronaut comes back safely. Obviously, the mission's not a success if they kill the people that you send up there. And NASA's been pretty successful, as I'm sure you're aware, at their safety record in flight. Obviously, I mean, you probably refer to the Challenger, Apollo 1. We've lost astronauts. The Russians have too. So we take our safety real seriously, and also the health and well-being of the crew members. Most of what we were doing in the biomedical branch was dealing with the long-term effects of weightlessness on the human body. The group I worked in specifically was interested in what would happen in a closed environment as far as the hygiene, air quality, and the types of problems that's associated when you're in a closed box, you know, where you can't get outside and everything is tried to be recycled. Just want to show you, everybody know what that is? Come on. It's a spacecraft. That's Apollo 13. Cool. That's the service module on the back end of Apollo 13 where they had an explosion and it go around the moon and come back. They made it though. And it was mostly team effort and mostly people working on keeping the crew safe to get back. One of the things they had to do was this, is put a square peg in a round hole. I don't know, you probably saw the Apollo 13 movie. Basically, NASA is a government agency. They work low bid. So one contractor built the lunar module and one contractor built the command module, and the filter systems were different sizes. So they had to take a square one and put it in a round one to get back alive. They still do things that way, though. In fact, on the new space station, the Russians build the water system. The U.S. provides some of the components, and the two biocides they use are incompatible, so you end up with rocks instead of killing the bacteria. But I guess you would learn, but you don't. This is Skylab, which was until just recently with the International Space Station, the U.S. effort as far as long-term habitation in space. There were 3 missions to Skylab. I'm a little bit on the microbes because that's really what my interest and our lab's interest is, that there have been actually problems both in crew health and in materials degradation through the various programs in the U.S., Apollo, Skylab, the shuttle not as much, and then the Mir space station. The Mir station, or at least before, usually what you see are skin health problems, respiratory infections. Apollo 13 had a urinary infection on one of the astronauts. They also have had some actually outbreaks of organisms on surfaces and so on, especially in Skylab 3. The Mir station and the Russians have spent a lot more time in the long-term habitation in orbit than the U.S. program, actually have had problems with bacteria and fungi degrading materials on the spacecraft. They had a Solute 6 in '81 in which when they went up to it, it was so contaminated they actually had to close the vehicle up and leave because of the air quality and the toxins in the air. They have documents, or at least anecdotal evidence, or that they've told us on
fungi actually degrading the windows and the gaskets in the windows. And you could imagine if you're in a vacuum and your gasket breaks, what would happen? You know, it'd be kind of a problem. What do we do as far as the analysis when we would do shuttle support for a mission? The U.S. program actually looks at the surface air quality of the shuttle before flight, during flight, and after flight to make sure that the environment is safe for the habitation of everyone. We take samples in the OPF, which is the Orbiter Processing Facility, where they move the shuttle in and put pieces in the cargo bay and so forth. When they roll it out to the pad, in flight and in landing. This is just a picture of the shuttle going into the OPF. Then it's rolled, the big tall building. Anybody been to KSC and seen it? It's a huge building. They built it for the Saturn V, and they rolled the orbiter in there. Made it to the solid rocket boosters, which are basically big Roman candles that once you light them, you can't turn them off. And then the hydrogen tank and the fuel tank. It's a picture of Atlantis. Then roll it out to the pad. Once it's to the pad, there's a series of processing steps that go with the water system. They actually used water from Cocoa Beach to fill the tanks up on the shuttle. Then prior to launch, they dump the water because it's relatively expensive to launch the shuttle. I actually forgotten the number, but it's like 15, 20 million per launch, and it's something like 150 grand a pound or something for launch, and so you really don't want to launch water, so they dump the tank and then they make water again. But they actually use Cocoa Beach tap water for their water supply. This is one of people in our lab actually taking samples. We'd actually go into the orbiter once it's on the pad, and you take samples around all the air vents, and on the flight deck, the mid deck, take samples in the food station, and make sure that the area doesn't have problem organisms in it prior to launch. What we'd find is, that. And that's a cooler picture than looking over the data on how many bacteria are there. This is kind of neat when you get out there and there's thunderstorms, the lightning striking down, and I don't know what's worse, the bacteria or the lightning. Once they strap the astronauts in, the astronauts themselves actually go through a pre-quarantine period of about 9 days. The U.S. astronauts actually follow that pretty well. The cosmonauts that have been in the program when I was there actually didn't quite pick up on the need for that, and they'd be out walking around and buying hamburgers at McDonald's or whatever. So they didn't necessarily follow the quarantine. On the shuttle, which when it launches, it's a 7 to 14 day type of mission. They can pack a lot of fresh food. They take apples, oranges. Since most all the astronauts all live in Texas, they all like burritos and tacos, and so forth. Then the launch, and this is a really neat thing to see, actually. I don't know, has anybody seen that? No, they're cool. Somebody's seen it. The ground shakes. And night launches are better than day launches. You can almost read a newspaper with them. Then take off. Once they get in orbit, they'll have to open the payload day doors for letting the temperature equilibrate and having the ECLIS system, or the environmental life support system, function on the orbiter. Picture of where they came from, that's a picture of Florida. And I think, what do you think that is? You got it. Exactly, the Aurora Borealis. Hurricane. Or a typhoon. Get a cool view. That's actually an air sampler taking some microbial air samples in orbit. It's actually a centrifugal sampler. they would use and you impact the air into it. But the astronauts, once they get the equipment, kind of had fun with it, and they turn it on and throw it around and let it travel around the deck and so on. This was an interesting study that was done through the Marshall Space Flight Center. Is they did a study to look at the type of debris that would come out of the air handling system after orbit. And since it's weightless, or microgravity, everything floats around, and so all this stuff came out of the air handling system. It was all sucked in there. They found like Cheerios, Oreos, cat hair, dog hair, cockroaches, flies, you name it. And they found it in the air handling system. So it's amazing what ends up in the spacecraft and into orbit. Not necessarily everyone wants it. And it's interesting, they did a lot of work with this, and they did forensics. And they had a forensic scientist actually go through and try to figure out whose it was and where it was from and so forth. Some more air data. Basically what we find as far as contamination, remember this is a closed box. It's about, the space shuttle's probably, the living area would be like the first 4 rows this way and up about that tall, about that volume. And you've got 7 people living together for 14 days. And so, it gets pretty gamey in there. What happens, as you see, is the bacterial levels jump up and the fungal levels jump up in flight. We did some work actually looking at transmission of skin flora from one astronaut to another. Our interest, of course, was if you had infectious organisms, how would they be transferred in close contact? And actually, we were able to track various yeast and staph using their genetic fingerprint and show that a specific organism from one individual was transferred to another individual in flight. In fact, then we could trace it to where it ended up on surfaces within the space shuttle itself. This is a picture of the Skylab module. They don't fly the Skylab module anymore. They stopped using it about 2 years ago. They've now gone to a smaller module, which is called SpaceHab. And this was to do scientific experiments and payloads. Essentially, there's glove boxes, also facilities to do physics and combustion experiments. There's animal holding facilities and so on. In fact, there's a picture of what they called the raft that was developed at Ames, and you see the face of the squirrel monkey looking out there. They would fly monkeys and rats and mice and things and frogs and toads and they're all essentially the units that the animals are flown in are self-contained as the shuttle is, so that they have their own life support, their own air, their own water, own feeding. Everything is done contained in that unit. That is the galley. Essentially, they have it's a convection oven, not a microwave, and then a needle which injects water into the freeze-dried food. And you get either hot or cold water. In the U.S. program, the water system is treated with iodine to keep the bacterial counts down, and the Russian system is treated with silver. Of course, they're doing a lot of this now, which are EVAs to put the International Space Station together. That suit is actually an entire spacecraft in itself. They have heating, cooling garments to actually to hold the temperature regulation. There's water so that they can actually drink. They wear diapers, so when they drink, they have somewhere to put it, which fits into what I'm doing now to Kimberly Clark. But then air and so forth. This picture of the shuttle. Let's see, this would be the first docking mission with the Mir space station. We spent about 5 years with the Russians sending astronauts to the Mir station to look at the effect of long-term flight on human performance and actually do some developmental work as far as developing hardware that they're going to use on, are using on International Space Station. The Mir, of course, probably read, yeah. I can't hear it, so. No, they're not. When they're actually in that configuration, they're free. And the backpack actually has a propulsion unit that they bring back and forth. Now, when they work in the payload bay, or when they're working like on construction of the International Space Station, they actually have tethers that they hook on. So, you know, because once you float away, then you're toast. They can come get you, but the problem is, and this is what the real problem is on space flight, is the energy required for doing that would probably eat up all the energy you need to do the rest of the mission. So you do your most not to have to go get them. It would actually probably stop the mission. Yes. The ground shakes really bad. Really bad. In fact, the first launch I went to, I thought I was shaking because, you know, it's really cool and it's real loud and the ground shake, it's really intense. Yeah. Like a meteorite? Well, actually, both the EVA and the shuttle have lots of micrometeorite impacts. In fact, when we would go, when we would have to do sampling the orbiter at landing, you can actually look at pits in the windshield and on the tiles from where meteorites hit it. And in fact, what will happen is, you know, you can't track the small ones, but the larger ones, they actually track the larger ones, and they'll have to move the shuttle to a different orbit to miss it. Anything else? Closest you can stand to watch a launch is 3 miles. Now, if you're in Russia, the closest you can stand is about a half a mile. But I don't think you'd want to. Everyone I've known who's gone to Russia and watched it launch actually stand back about a mile. The Russians have an interesting sense different sense of safety than we do in the U.S. A buddy of mine went over there for a launch of a satellite. And in the U.S., you go through a whole pile of training on how to use gas masks and where the propellants are, and there's a propellant rig, you know, leak, run this way. You know, if the leak's over here and the wind's going that way, go that way. In Russia, they gave them a gas mask. They had a tent with tear gas in it. They sent them in there. If the guys came out screaming, then the gas mask didn't work. And so then they went to watch the launch, and they were pulling this rocket full of propellant out of the building, and all these guys are sitting there smoking cigarettes next to the rocket full of propellant. The guy's going, wow, you know, this doesn't look like a good thing to do. Then when they went to fuel it with the liquid, they had this orange hydrazine cloud, which is extremely toxic and caustic, floating around. So it's a run away from a Russian flight. I'm on film, aren't I? Anyways, did you? Okay. That's the Mir station. That's the one, it's pretty big. That's what's going to come down next month, supposedly, and not hit anything but land in the Pacific. We'll see. The access that's going this way is the Spectre module where the Progress hit it. Yeah. What did they find? I'm sorry. I have no clue. Yeah. I know, I just read recently that Pluto's supposedly not a planet. Did you hear that? Yeah, supposedly Pluto is actually just a mass of ice, and it may not be actually considered a planet, so, yeah. How big is it? I'll show you here. The shuttle is about the size of a, there's the shuttle docked to the Mir. The shuttle's about the size of a DC-9. And so you can get an idea. The International Space Station that's being built is going to be about 4 times as big as that. Right now it's essentially the central node. Let's see, the central node you see there, and then off to this side, and down at the end, that black piece is a Soyuz spacecraft. The area between that is actually the same habitation unit that's being used on the International Space Station. Part of what the design went into is the Russians actually provided the life support systems for the International Space Station. So it looks exactly like that, then it'll come off and actually bigger. And that picture was actually taken by the Russians on a Soyuz. It backed off and took it. That's the docking module. And then the crew goes back and forth between that module and transfers all sorts of stuff. Here they are, shaking hands. You know, they'll drink some vodka, you know, smoke cigars, play a banjo or something. They do that. No, they're not supposed to smoke. The U.S. astronauts are not supposed to smoke. The Russians do what they wish. They will not do that on the International Space Station. On the Mir, this is let's see, John Blaha is the astronaut. This would be the 3rd U.S. mission to the Mir station. It's actually an intriguing unit to look at because unlike what we do in the U.S. Industry, we have everything look really nice and neat and clean. The Russians are nuts and bolts guys. I mean, they tape stuff to the, you know, you'll see like they'll have a computer like an 8088 up there, and they'll have it strapped in with duct tape. You know, they'll have a Sony monitor hooked to an instrument, and they'll have it, you know, bungee corded to it. You can see all the white tubing. That's their air handling system. If they find that the air is bad in a certain area, they just move the tubing to where they need it. See, let me go back here. On the first mission, which was with Norm Thagard, I remember going to a debriefing with him, and they had it was a shower on the Mir, and the cosmonauts never used it because, well, it leaked, so it sent water all over the station. So he said he woke up one night and he saw this cosmonaut with a machete. You know, what do you do with a machete in a spacecraft? But, you know, they had it up there. And he had this machete and he was hacking apart the sauna or the shower, and he was hacking it apart with this machete and throwing it away. Basically what the Progress, which is their supply, they throw all the trash in there. He was hacking apart the machete, throw it away. Norm said, when I looked over and I saw this guy with a machete, I went back to my bunk, you know. You don't want to mess with a guy with a machete and weightlessness. This is actually one of the projects I worked on, which was a water transfer project. You know, I said it was real expensive to launch water. Well, the orbiter, the space shuttle, actually is a 1-through system on the water treatment. And what happens is once you make up enough water, it's just dumped overboard and just put off into space. The Mir, on the other hand, actually recycles condensate for drinking purposes, recycles urine water for electrolysis and energy production. And so when the orbiter was docked to the Mir, we actually devised a way of transferring our water to the Mir station. The problem we had is that we had an incompatibility with the disinfectants we used. We used iodine, they'd use silver. If you put the two together, you get a rock and you won't kill anything. So we had to build a cartridge that worked in zero gravity to remove the iodine. We had to add in the stuff that the Russians want and then give it to the Mir. We ended up actually on a mission, and each of those are about 90-liter bags, sending over 30 or 40 bags of water during a mission that they would then transfer to the Russian system. and use. It turned out some of the work we did is we were interested to see, did we pass bacteria from the space shuttle to the Mir system, and in fact we were able to genetically fingerprint organisms that we knew we had to start with in the shuttle, and they ended up coming out of samples out of the Russian water system. So we probably helped them out. They also transferred all sorts of other stuff on all these missions, and this is what they do on space station. Basically what the shuttle was built for in '81 when it was first flown was to fly somewhere with cargo. And so essentially with International Space Station, the Mir, that's what it's doing. They just pack it full of all sorts of supplies and cargo and ship it up there. That's the Spectre module where the Progress ran into and broke a hole into it and almost sent them back, actually. It was a little more intense than I think the press even told everyone. That's the closest I get to Wisconsin for a picture from the Mir. Where I live's over there, right on top of Lake Winnebago, but you know, y'all are off to the west there. Good picture of Michigan, though, right? Norm Faggart. One of the things that happens when you're in weightlessness a long time is one happens is you have a fluid shift. You know, when you're in when you're in 1G, all your mass goes toward the ground. Well, 0G, everything shifts up. And so essentially what you have to do is you have to exercise continually to keep your body mass in the right shape and your health correct. And so there's a lot of countermeasures worked on for extended flight. So when you show back up after 3 months, you know, with the shuttle, when you're up 14 days at the most, usually 7 to 14 days, you come back, 60% of the astronauts, you know, are sick and don't feel good, but they don't fall flat on their face. What happens if you don't exercise in flight, basically you come off and you spend 2 days like a lump of jelly on the ground. And so what we found is by exercise and so on, the astronauts can actually come back after that period of time and they won't have as many physical problems. There's actually bone loss associated with zero gravity flight. There's some other cardiovascular problems that occur. This is Shannon Lucid, who was she's actually now spent more time in space than any human, I believe. She spent 4 months on the Mir station, did some weed experiments, which at the end I'll show you where we've actually used for recycling atmospheres for going to Mars. Did a lot of really good she's a biochemist. Yeah. She grew wheat. What did you think? That's good. They're playing with their food. They're always thrilled when you show up at the Mir and you bring them fresh fruit, because we did a lot of the testing of the Russian food before it was flown, and the stuff is awful. It smells bad, it looks bad, I don't know why they eat it. In fact, the Russians really tickled when the U.S. got involved, because we started shipping up lots of good food for them. And they love burritos. This is just a picture on the Mir. You can see how crowded it is and all the pieces and parts. These are some of the kits that we developed in our group. This is actually the surface sampler kit we developed for actually sampling surfaces of various areas, and there's a protocol that the astronaut or cosmonaut uses. They look at it, they count it, they have a certain requirement that it has to, yeah. You have to speak up. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we actually, well, part of doing this, we had to train the astronauts and cosmonauts that went in orbit on how to use these kits. This is the air sampling kit that is being used for International Space Station. It's basically a centrifugal, or actually impact sampler, which is different than that centrifugal sampler that I showed you earlier. And this is the water kit. that we developed to look at the water quality. And actually, these are samples that were taken on one of the mirror missions. If there's purple, you see a little purple, that means it's bad. And the mirror had lots of stuff growing in it. This is some more pictures actually in the mirror. How crowded it is. That's the galley in the mirror. See the difference between their galley and the nice wood paneling. This is actually a picture taken when I was over in Star City at their mock-up in Moscow. And this is what they would train the cosmonauts in. That is the control area for the mirror where they do the thrusters, and right now that's all running automatically and burn up next week. And then a picture of after leaving the mirror and flying off. Then that's a Soyuz. Interesting thing about Soyuz, the Soyuz is a round-looking capsule, and they have the solar panels. You notice the Russians use solar panels and everything. On the shuttle, power is generated with hydrogen, hydrogen and oxygen combining chemically to produce energy and water, where the Russians rely mostly on solar energy once they do get in orbit. So they're a little more efficient as far as the usage of the environment around them. What happens, though, is when they land, that round capsule comes down in the Siberian desert with parachutes, and then they fire retros and then slam into the dirt, unlike, rolling in with the shuttle. And there's some of the pictures they show. It's kind of intriguing. I'm not sure it'd be a great way to land. They also end up out there, and I know when you go to a landing at Kennedy or out at Edwards, there's a whole entourage of people to help the crew get off. The Russians, when they land, actually you'll be out there and there'll be nomads out there with their yaks, and they bring out lounge chairs, and it's tradition they sit down there and drink a shot of vodka once they're done. So that's a picture, a cosmonaut in the mirror, checking them out as they leave. And there's the Mir station. Then the shuttle coming home. When I first started working there, they used to land a lot out in California, out in the desert. Almost all flights end up in Florida now. It costs a few dollars to bring it back from California when they have to put it on top of the 747. Also helps quickening the recycle. The shuttle landing, and that's in California. And touchdown. Then that is a picture, at least, of the second phase of the International Space Station, which is what's coming up. So I guess what I'm going to do is just quickly show you a little bit on some of the closed-life support. All the shuttle operations, the Mir operations can be supplied very easily from the Earth. And if you have a problem, you can come back pretty quickly. But the idea and the idea of why you want to be in space and be in long term is to fly to other planets. And so, this picture of the Mars rover on Mars, one of the ideas, we want to go to Mars and actually live there. Well, what we did for the last 3 years at JSC is actually close people up into this chamber here and had their entire environment recycled while they lived there. The 30 and a 90-day period, a 15-day period. We had water, urine, all wastewater recycled back to drinking water, and the air actually recycled back using plants. This is a chamber, and this gentleman here, Nigel, he actually spent 15 days it was kind of like living in a closet with the wheat chambers on the other side, and you just pass things back and forth to him. This was actually to show, and he's in here looking, and what we did is we grew wheat hydroponically, and it was a wheat variety that actually was it didn't grow as tall, wheat. and it would be used to recycle the carbon dioxide into oxygen. We also had lettuce crops, lettuce. Okay. And here he is, and there's his facility there. Yeah. And he lived in there. This is actually some summer students we have. They have a really good co-op program at NASA, and these are summer students, freshmen, sophomores in college who work on projects that were set up for them, taking air samples and looking at air quality. And, you know, sooner or later we're going to get there. So, about 5 minutes early. Y'all got any more questions? Well, actually, International Space Station is running right now. And they've actually had occupancy on the space station since last, I'm going to say December. And so it should be continually occupied now until... Last I remember, a crew is up there from a 3 to 4 month period. And then there's switch out. The shuttle will go up and swap out crews every 8 months, and I may be wrong on that actual timing. The Russians will trade out a Soyuz. Right now, the Soyuz is used as their escape pod, and so right now only 3 people can stay continually on the International because the Soyuz can only take 3 people back. And then once there's a assured crew return vehicle that should be able to bring up to, I think, 7 or 8 people back. Once that's actually made, developed, and proven and put up there, then they'll have the full contingent of 7 people on board. Right now, it's about the size of two 18-wheel trucks. When it's finished, it'd probably be more like 6 or 8. And there's various modules built by the U.S., the Japanese, the Europeans, and the Russians. All right. Well, thank you. Oh, don't forget to go ballooning tomorrow. And I really do need ground crew.